The Nintendo Switch is such a unique system because when you truly consider it, they almost exist outside the typical console wars. While PlayStation and Xbox just keep bashing their heads against each other, Nintendo's over in the corner releasing tons of exclusives like Fire Emblem, Zelda, Mario, and of course, my very favorite, Splatoon. Now, I want to make it clear, my most played Nintendo Switch game is still Splatoon 2. I have hundreds of hours in this game, and I have so much fun with it. But that's why I feel a little bit conflicted that Splatoon 3 doesn't really feel that big. It doesn't feel that great. It doesn't feel that different. It doesn't really feel like Splatoon 3. But let's talk about that. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could like this video, if this video happens to hit 5,000 likes, I am going to be giving away a copy of Splatoon 3 over on my Twitter account. Also, subscribe. So I just decided to stay up all night playing a bunch of Splatoon 3 because I've been very hyped about it. This trilogy of games has always been very fun for me because I kind of like the idea of an online shooter that isn't necessarily focused on headshots or crazy kill-death ratios, and instead is just about paint. If you've never played Splatoon, the general gimmick of it is that you're playing as these squid kids who can swim across paint, they can splat people, they can go across these maps very, very fast. But the whole part of it that makes it more interesting is that this is not just about defeating your opponents, it's about specific objectives, either covering more of the map in paint, pushing a block, or sometimes just owning a rainmaker that can sort of splatter the entire area in your particular color. At the very heart of Splatoon is a very fun gameplay loop where you're constantly just playing these really wacky, cool environments. You're getting a chance to see, well, some of the most colorful gameplay ever, but I also do kind of just enjoy the fact that it's such a quirky universe. So for this video, I want to break it down into 3 separate chunks to talk about the 3 aspects of Splatoon 3. The typical multiplayer, the Salmon Run, which is like the wave-based multiplayer where you're going against monsters, and then finally, the single player. In fact, let's start off by talking about the single player and the story mode, because this is completely optional. Each of the Splatoon games has a slightly different setting, but they all sort of base themselves on the idea that this is a universe where squids have come on land and just decided to have their big fun here. It's post-apocalyptic. Humanity is long gone, and sometimes you see like different relics of our society. Well, the story mode in this one feels a little bit strange to me because it doesn't really feel any much better or different than Splatoon 2's Octo expansion. A couple years ago, we got this big, gigantic DLC that came to Splatoon 2, which created this underground subway system with a series of very, very fun puzzles. The Splatoon 3 story, the entire campaign, it's just that. It's the same style of puzzles. As you go along, you're trying to slowly unlock this map. Basically, by beating levels, you get these special power-ups that let you essentially unlock big, gooey doors. It's very, very straightforward. It's not bad. I will actually say it's very, very exciting to see these new cool levels, which are all very puzzle-focused, but it still just doesn't feel different. While progressing through the single player, it is very, very cool to see these different locations, to unlock new maps, to fight some very funny bosses, but all of it, I mean, the game itself is definitely directed towards like 9-year-olds. So, I mean, every one of these puzzles, you're going to solve in about 15 seconds. Now, some of the puzzles that existed in Splatoon 2's Octo expansion were definitely better than this. There's not really anything in here that makes it feel like Splatoon 3. There's nothing big and flashy and different. It definitely does just feel like a $60 expansion with some extra little cool flashy graphics. But now, let me talk about Turf War. Let me talk about the typical multiplayer, the part of this that I feel like most people enjoy playing the most, myself included. The Splatoon multiplayer is very randomized. Every couple hours, there's a new set of maps, there's a new set of objectives, there's a new set of stuff to do, which makes it very, very addictive. Every round of the game is, just a couple minutes long, and I do really love the pickup and playability. It's cool that I can just straight up test out a weapon, log in, go straight into a match, and then then even if I don't like that particular match layout, I can still have a lot of fun. Even if the current maps are not something I personally enjoy, I have always been kind of intrigued by the idea of this constantly cycling gameplay. You're always getting new modes, new matches, new mixed up stuff, along with, of course, random teammates. But this brings me to the biggest downside of Splatoon 3. There really isn't anything new. You're probably noticing that I could probably sneak in some Splatoon 2 gameplay here and you wouldn't notice at all. It's got the same heads-up display, it's got the same weapons. There's 2 new weapons they've introduced, which is like a wet katana that lets you throw paint, and this special crossbow thing, but both of them are just charge attacks. They don't feel particularly cool or new. They're just, little tiny bits of extra spiciness for your arsenal. There is one new super ultimate attack, which is the crab tank. I like that, but again, none of this feels like Splatoon 3. This is just Splatoon 2.5. Now, I have seen this phrase online sometimes from gamers, which is that the best sequels are more of what you already loved. And in that case, Splatoon 3 is it's Splatoon 2 with a little bit of extra stuff. A couple new maps, a couple new locations, a couple more cool scenic backgrounds and water effects, but nothing in here really feels, great. Nothing here feels like that revolution that I hoped it would be. It does feel like a bit of a free update for Splatoon 2, except it cost me full freaking price. Now, this does bring me to the tiny tweaks they have done. There is these little bits of adjustment. It does feel like swimming is faster. A lot of the weapons are better balanced, so sometimes the paint roller could feel a little bit overpowered. Sometimes the sniper rifle could feel a little bit weak. They have certainly gone in and tried to do a big balancing patch to make sure that Splatoon 3 feels a little bit more refined than even the best moments of Splatoon 2. And this goes for the final section and one of my favorite aspects of Splatoon, which is Salmon Run. This is a wave-based multiplayer where essentially you're trying to defend this big basket of eggs. It's going to be filled with eggs soon. Monsters are coming out of the ocean, you have to splat them, and they drop these little tiny orbs. By taking them and dunking into the basket, you fill your quota. It is exceptionally fun, it's very randomized, the weapons you get are randomized, the rounds, the levels of the water, so sometimes the base is a teeny tiny island, sometimes it's an expansive beach. The whole tide system, like everything about Salmon Run, is way more fun this time around, just because honestly, you can now play it whenever you want. In Splatoon 2, they would actually lock you out sometimes. They would lock out Salmon Run and only let it be playable for particular time periods. Whereas now, if you want to play Salmon Run, just go do it. That's cool. That's great. This is one of those tiny tweaks that does improve the game, along with stuff like it's cool that now if characters are talking to you, you can fast forward or mute anybody. Like anybody in the game other than like the main opening tutorial, you can just straight up say, yeah, I got it. I also do like that, a lot of games, especially Nintendo games, have this bad habit of being very handholdy. If you have Splatoon 2 save data on your Nintendo Switch, when you start this game, they give you these coupons that let you unlock any weapons you want right at the beginning of the game. So instead of actually unlocking the new stuff, or if there's a particular thing you love, like obviously I love the Splat dualies, it's cool that I can just straight up get the exact weapons, the exact items, because I already understand this universe. They're not trying to hold my hand. They understand that I know what I'm doing. Splatoon 3 is fun, and it's going to get more fun. The biggest aspect of Splatoon that I feel like newcomers are not going to understand is that these games are living, breathing universes. There's always new players joining, there's always new maps being added, there's always new tweaks and changes, there's always new art being created by the community, new memes. Buying Splatoon 3, for me, is about those future Splatfests. It is about that future content. I am, of course, going to be playing it all the freaking time, but I guess additionally, it's kind of a matter of even having the game right now, I'm already sort of waiting for that next update, that next patch, that next thing that hopefully is going to feel a little bit new. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts after having played it all freaking night, because yes, the game is pretty dang decent. As it currently stands, it's also a little bit broken. I'm trying not to hold this against it, But the internet connection to this game, I actually have Google Fiber, so I have the fastest internet in Texas. Constantly, the game seemed to crash. I got like 10 separate internet errors where if anybody quits, it closes down the entire lobby. It actually penalizes you. I kept getting warnings inside the game saying that I'm being like a bad player for quitting matches. When I wasn't quitting, it was literally just the lobby crashing again and again and again. But hopefully, that's just because the game is so incredibly popular and things will straighten out in a bit. But what do you think about this? Tell me your thoughts about Splatoon 3 in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you see me online, keep dreaming, because I'm going to splat your ass. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.